Now, we're going to have another similar topic. Let's go to the next question, though, coming from Kathleen Ronayne from the Associated Press.
Congresswoman, talking about productivity, can you tell us about one piece of legislation that you sponsored and led the way on that's made a difference for New Hampshire?
Yes, I can. I am very, very proud of the health care law. It has brought tremendous changes for people who did not have insurance before. It has also allowed families to keep their children under the age of 26. It has stopped discriminating against women for being female in health care. It's lifted the caps that insurance companies put on health care for people, so if they were sick too long, they would get kicked off. So this is a remarkable piece of legislation that still needs improvement, and we know that. But unfortunately, since the current House has worked and voted 56 times to cancel it, we haven't been able to do the fixes. I said all along that this was legislation, massive piece of legislation like Social Security and Medicare, that would need to have some fixes along the way. But ultimately, when I see and hear from people who talk about being able to go to a doctor now, being able to get health care, doctors tell me, hospitals tell me, I think that's a huge success, and I'm proud of it.
Mr. Ginta, same question for you. One piece of legislation that you led the way on?
Well, I'm a little surprised to hear that Congresswoman Shea Porter is most proud of a piece of legislation that 65% of New Hampshire residents oppose. This piece of legislation is requiring 17,000 people in the state of New Hampshire to pay penalties next year to the tune of $23 million. Think about the amount of money that is and how we could redirect those resources to more effective ways than paying the federal government to pay for this piece of legislation. Not only that, it costs $2 trillion, and only 6 million people so far are covered. That's more than $300,000 per individual that taxpayers are paying. The pieces of legislation that I'm proud of are the 3 that I got signed into law. The most important, I think, was for veterans, making sure that Clark's Veterans Cemetery in the Philippines is finally taken care of by American dollars again.
All right, take 30 seconds to follow up. I can see that you...
I would urge people to go to thomas.gov. Frank Ginta did not get 3 pieces of legislation signed in. He did not get it through the House and through the Senate and signed by a Democratic president. His name is not on that. I know that you had a provision that got wrapped into a Senate bill, and good for you, but you did not get 3 bills signed in. And the reality is that in this Congress today, with a Republican House and a Democratic Senate, it would be darn near impossible to do that.
Actually, I have to say, when Nancy Pelosi was Speaker, she did not allow the minority party at the time, which was the Republican Party, to bring amendments to the floor. The one thing that John Boehner changed as soon as he became Speaker was to allow anyone, a freshman or a member of the minority party, to bring amendments to the floor. Sheila Jackson Lee from Texas has brought more amendments to the floor this term than there have been votes in the United States Senate. So there is ample opportunity for a Republican or a Democrat to try to effectuate change on behalf of their constituents.
Plenty of time to engage. We've got to move on, though.